How's it going, guys? My name is Josh, and today we're going to be talking about the Beyerdynamic Amiron Home. And like usual, guys, if you want to skip to any particular part in the video, go ahead and skip here. So this particular headphone uses the same driver as the DT1990 and the DT1770, both very well-renowned headphones from me and quite a few other reviewers as well. And the 1990 and the 1770 are more made for studio use, and in the future there's going to be a comparison between this headphone and the 1990. If you're curious on which one you should get, what kind of the sonic differences are, you should definitely hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and you can stay tuned for that. So it comes in this egg-shaped carrying case. Now I like this case quite a bit more than the one that comes in the 1990 because it's just a little bit more compact. It has everything you need, and there's no real extra bulk, and you could just put this in a backpack and it wouldn't be like too big of a problem to go mobile with it. Now in the case, the presentation of the headphones is just fine, but really you're probably going to take these out and not really touch the case probably ever again. So in the case, unlike the 1990 and the 1770, this actually only has one pair of pads on it. The 1990 and 1770 came with two pairs of pads each, and they had like an analytical one and a balanced one. And they also came with two cables. This only comes with one, and it is very, very long. Although the cable system on this, thank you, Bayer, but they made it dual-sided instead of the single-sided that they were using on the 1990 and 1770. And my OCD makes me want the dual-sided. This cable is very, very long, but if you want an aftermarket cable, I have a suggestion in the description down below, as well as links to the Amiron Home, the 1990 and 1770, and my recommended products down below. Okay, so the physical build of this, one thing I want to get out of the way is these pads. So these pads are well, they're technically removable, technically. However, I do not recommend that you do that unless you are going to, for sure, change them for different pads. Because unlike the 1990 and 1770, these pads are not easily removable, and they are very, very difficult to put back on. You actually have to take the headphone apart. You have to put them on this little round ring, which is easier said than done, and then pop that ring back onto the cup. Now the pads and the headband are made with Alcantara. Now this is kind of a different material from most headphones using velour or some sort of canvas material. Now you have an overall solid build. The clamp force is lighter than the 1990, and the pads are comfortable. The clamp force is just enough to keep them clamped on your head without feeling like they're gonna fall off. But at the same time, they don't really press on your head, and they don't really have what I would consider to be like a secure fit, although they do feel pretty good. Now, if you see the actual grills here on pictures, it actually looks like metal, like a weaved kind of metal, but it's not. It's actually some sort of like weaved or stitched canvas, which is very strange. Now, these are technically classified as open, and they kind of fit really perfectly in between the 1990 and the 1770, 1770 being closed, 1990 being the open one. So like I said before, I will have a comparison, but for now, let's just go ahead and talk about the Amiron Home. So these have an impedance of 250 ohms and a sensitivity level of 102 dB. So you can power them off a phone, although you're gonna see the full benefit of these, and I do actually recommend using an amplifier, although you don't really need something with an absolute ton of power. Overall, these are punchy, detailed, yet relaxing headphones. Now, if I bought these, the home usage of these is exactly what I would use them for. Late night listening where you want your detail, but you don't want to be fatigued. You don't want to deal with just crazy amounts of in-your-face type of music, but still have that aforementioned detail, lots of punchiness in the bass ranges, and an overall pleasant listening experience. So treble is etched out and surgical, and that's really the best way I found to describe the Tesla driver that's in this, because they use it in the 1770, the 1990, and now the Amiron Home, and it is incredibly accurate. Now, another thing that I liked on this was that they actually seem to taper down the highs a little bit, so it's not very bright, and that kind of goes into the overall smooth sound signature of this. And nothing is sibilant, nothing is too bright, and nothing in the treble seems to be overemphasized or too much to handle. Although I will mention something about the highs in just a second, but for now I want to talk about vocal highs. Vocals are incredible. They're laid back, they still have good separation, but they're not intense and in your face, yet still remaining intimate. However, the one issue I have with this headphone regarding how it sounds is there is a slight S problem. So in the S ranges of especially female vocals, when they land on those S notes, occasionally it's a little much. It's a little bit too much, and because of how laid back these normally sound, when that S hits, it's like, okay, all right, take it easy. This really has a good representation of like the feeling, the signature, the overall temperature of a Tesla driver for the highs. Now, similar to the 1990 for the mid-range. The upper mid-range is a little bit recessed, but still maintains that detail to it. You're not really gonna see a lack of detail anywhere with this headphone. The drivers are very, very capable, and the pads and the housing that they've chosen to go with for this headphone is an excellent choice. For the low mid-range, you're getting this depth and this impact and this real punchiness to it. It makes it very, very enjoyable. Now, when that kind of bleeds into the vocal ranges and you're talking about vocals are, again, they're very laid back, yet still detailed, still textured, everything you would want from vocals. You still have this great isolation, this great center image, but it's very rarely overbearing unless you, again, hit that kind of S range. Now, for the $600 line, let's say, of Beyerdynamic, the vocal tonality is exceptional. It's on par with Sennheiser's, but in regards to quality and the depth and the impact of vocals, it's right up there. It's among the best. You're talking about great isolation, great separation with vocals, and they're just smooth. Now, regarding bass, this is one of the warmer sounding headphones that I've tried from Beyer. They don't normally go for this sound signature, but they really did get it right with this. You're talking about punchy bass, very good mid-range. It's a really good sweet spot in terms of sub bass between the 1990, which kind of rolled off about 50 hertz. This goes all the way down to about 30 and still hits pretty strong, and then just has a little bit of a dip right at the end. And if you want to go all the way down to that 20 hertz range where it's just impactful and thick all the way up to 20, then go with the 1770s. Now, when I say thick, I don't mean boomy. I just mean there's a lot of quality behind the bass that's not necessarily texture or detail. There's just a depth to the bass. In this whole line, really, they have pretty good both mid and sub bass. Now, to close on the bass note, not to compare it to the other Beyers, it's very broad, but not boomy, and it has a lot of texture, a lot of detail, and it's very clean and punchy, but not overemphasized. It's very well mannered while still being very present. It definitely showed up to the class. So soundstage and imaging, imaging is great. This whole line has exceptional imaging. This is not quite to the same level as the 1990 or the HD660 in terms of imaging, but still very accurate. Has wider soundstage than the 660, but less soundstage than the 1990. And overall, these are a more intimate sounding headphone. They're not really great with forward sounds. They're more internal and in your head. If you ever tried 600s, you kind of know what I'm talking about there. So overall, the usage for this, because this is kind of an outlier in terms of like the DT 1990 line, I wouldn't use this in a studio. It's very accurate. Yes, it's more accurate than your average headphone, but if you're gonna buy for studio or professional use, go with the 1990 or the 1770 if you need close back or you really need bass. But if you're using this to like relax at home, just listen and chill out and not be too into how exactly something sounds, I feel like the warm signature offered by the Amiron Home is better for that. But I'll get way more in depth than that on the 1990 versus Amiron Home. These are comfortable, chilled out headphones for a critical listener. It's clean and neutral, yet fun. It's impactful, it's got punchiness to it, it's got depth to it, it's got vocals and clarity in all the right places. It's very resolving and it is damn good. I'm gonna give this product a 9 out of 10. The only real disappointment for me was that S problem. Other than that, I think these are a phenomenal sounding pair of headphones. They are incredibly well built. I could see these lasting for years, and they sounded great on a lot of different genres. All right, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what I do on this channel, consider supporting me on Patreon, or if you wanna buy these, or the 1990s, or the 1770s, links are in the description down below. Until the next video, my name is Josh.